You have credit card debt. The debt suckers' high rate and high pay are everywhere.
Ooh, they're making another minimum payment. Great. Most of the money goes to us. We'll suck the life out of them.
Because your credit card rates are so high, you can't get rid of the debt suckers alone.
Their minimum payments are in vain. No, that's juicy.
But one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your neck.
Thank you for calling Consolidated Credit.
Oh no, they lower his rates and consolidate his bills into one low payment. He'll pay off his debt in no time. Consolidated Credit drives us batty.
Call Consolidated Credit now. Call now and get your life back.
Oh, because debt sucks.
Call now.
Call Consolidated Credit at 1-800-701-0446. That's 1-800-701-0446. Call now.
Bretz Coven Attorney at Law ইমিগ্রেশন ল সংক্রান্ত যে কোনো ধরনের সমস্যার সমাধানে আজই যোগাযোগ করুন।
আমাদের এখানে বাংলা ভাষা সহ আরো 15টি ভাষায় কথা বলা হয়।
প্রাক্তন ইমিগ্রেশন প্রসিকিউটর মিস্টার ব্রেটস দিবেন আপনাদের সকল প্রকার আইনি সহায়তা। যোগাযোগ 212-267-2555 732-313-0075 bretzlaw.com।
প্রিয় দর্শক, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি আমাদের নিয়মিত আয়োজন ইমিগ্রেশন বিষয়ক অনুষ্ঠান ইউএস ইমিগ্রেশন উইথ ব্রেটস কোভেন LLP। দর্শক, নিয়মিতভাবেই আমাদের সাথে উপস্থিত আছেন নিউ ইয়র্কের অতি জনপ্রিয় ল ফার্ম ব্রেটস কোভেন LLP থেকে অ্যাটর্নি ক্যারি এবং অ্যাটর্নি আইলিন। আমাদের দর্শক, আপনারা জানেন যে আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠানটি সাজানো হয়ে থাকে ইমিগ্রেশন সংক্রান্ত যে কোনো আপনাদের সমস্যা এবং তার সমাধান নিয়ে, এবং আপনারা আমাদেরকে সরাসরি প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন এবং আমাদেরকে প্রশ্ন করার জন্য আপনারা ফোন করতে পারেন এই নাম্বারে 718-389-9600। আপনাদের যে কোনো ইমিগ্রেশনের সমস্যা নিয়ে আমাদের সাথে এই নাম্বারে আপনারা সরাসরি যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন এবং আপনাদের প্রশ্ন আমাদের সামনে রাখতে পারেন। ধন্যবাদ দর্শক। চলুন তাহলে আমরা কথা বলি আজকে আমাদের অতিথিদের সাথে। Hello, Kerry. How are you?
Good evening, Shamima. How are you?
Good. I know it's really freezing and really cold weather.
It's cold, but we're happy to be here.
It's very slippery though, so hopefully you drive safely. And Eileen, how are you today?
Very well.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
As usual. Okay. Kerry and Eileen, as we know, we have many different issues in immigration, but as you know and as our audience also know, that there are people who come to this country in many different, like in a name, their own name, probably in different name, and they come here, they apply for a different name, and when they got unsuccessful, they use another name probably. They use many different names, several cases they apply. Some people, after then, when they apply for a new case, they forgot to mention their old previous case, or they forgot to, represent their old case. So in this situation, what is your suggestion that they should do? And, some people got green card and they need to apply for citizenship.
Right.
And
This is a
they
good.
forgot.
This is a good question, and this is a common scenario, right, where people do what they can to get to the U.S., and we're not judging
Right.
anybody. So sometimes they have their picture and somebody else's passport, something like that. They get stopped at the airport, and in order to get into the U.S., they say, "Okay, I'm going to claim political asylum."
Absolutely.
And they get allowed to enter the U.S. They file for the asylum in that fake name. It gets denied. Then they meet somebody who says, "Listen, I can get you a birth certificate, and we're going to change your name slightly. Instead of being Ahmed Mohammed, it's going to be Mohammed Ahmed, and we'll change your date of birth from being October 5th to being January 10th, okay? And let's go now marry a U.S. citizen and try to get a green card that way." And it doesn't work out. But each time, they've been fingerprinted.
Right, absolutely.
And then later on, they actually get a green card essentially legitimately through employment, through a family member, through a spouse. And they don't reveal the previous misrepresentations, and they are misrepresentations and they are fraud.
Right.
So the first thing is that very often when you're getting your green card, let's say based upon marriage to a citizen, and you committed some previous frauds, not always, but very often, there is a waiver available. And you could come clean on all of that and get the waiver and have a clean case. Okay, the people that we see didn't do that. They usually got their green card, you said it in a polite way, they forgot to mention their previous history.
Absolutely.
And now it's 15 years later, and they want to do citizenship. And so what happens at citizenship now, the investigation is much more intensive and thorough.
Absolutely.
And they uncover the previous fraud, and some of these folks will either be denied naturalization and placed in deportation proceedings, or at least denied naturalization. The good news is that in most circumstances, there is a waiver available. There is a way to rectify the situation. So what we do in this office a lot, and I don't mean to be so long-winded about it, but I'm so passionate about it. When I have a client who has filed 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 different things with immigration.
Right.
Sometimes there's 2 different deportation orders. We do a thorough investigation. We take their fingerprints, we send them to the FBI, we get a hit back with all the places where their fingerprints were used. Then we use that to order all the files from the court, all the files from immigration. No risk to the person. This doesn't attract any attention to them, but it gives us the full history. We now know everything. Immigration's going to know if they file something.
Right.
And then we look to apply the appropriate waivers. And it's really, people get worried that, I didn't tell immigration about this 20 years ago, and now, I've been a hardworking guy, I'm a successful guy, my kids are going to college, living the American dream, and they're afraid to what they should do next.
Right.
And the bottom line is that in most, first of all, you shouldn't do anything by yourself. Consult a lawyer. But in most circumstances, there is a way to come clean, rectify it, get a waiver, and move on. And that's the good news with.
So
with
you're saying that there
like
is a chance that they can actually file
Yes.
a waiver, even though after many years.
Yes.
And even though they have many different names, some people, as you said, like maybe 4 times they have changed their name and applied 4 different cases they have.
Correct.
So they have a way.
Most people have a way. I mean, you have to look at each situation to make sure. What I wouldn't recommend is that you continue the fraud. You file for your naturalization and it asks, have you ever used any other names? And you say no. You've just committed another fraud there.
Right.
The other place where it comes up, which is not directly related to immigration, but you see it a lot, comes up with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Person got their driver's license or their hack license to drive a taxi cab in the other name. And they've been using that driver's license for years, even though now they have their green card in their real name.
Right.
And now they apply for a driver's license in their real name, and motor vehicle season, next thing you know, they get a call from an investigator who wants to talk to them. So that's a slightly different problem. That becomes a criminal problem with the driver's license, but one which also there can be a resolution of and where people should get representation on. But the point with all of this is that we never recommend that people continue the fraud.
Absolutely.
Consult us, consult the lawyer, do the investigation, get all the files, and then sort out the waivers that you can do. And you'll be surprised. We've done many cases where people have had 4 different files with immigration, and we've been but have a beautiful family, no criminal history, and have been essentially living the American dream. Except 15 years ago, they did a whole bunch of crazy things in order to try to stay here. And we've been able to help a lot of those people in that circumstance. Not everybody, but a lot.
That's really great news, because there are many people there actually have a confusion about this, that, okay, now I cannot maybe move on. So there are many people, they don't even apply for citizenship because they're scared. They have a previous history, which is they didn't reveal to their the way they got the green card. And in that note, I have another question for Eileen, but I will take the call. We have a caller waiting. Let's take the call first. Hello, Anwar?
Hello?
We have a caller from New York. Anwar. Hello?
Yes, yes. Hello?
Hello, Anwar? আপনি কি শুনতে
আমি
পাচ্ছেন?
আনোয়ার বলছি।
Hello?
হ্যাঁ।
Hello?
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
Hello?
হ্যাঁ, আমি আপনাকে শুনতে পারছি।
Okay. I think there is a technical problem. We cannot hear Anwar here.
Hello?
All right. So we'll catch up with a caller later. But I have a question with Eileen. There is also a problem with the marriage fraud cases also. It's like people are engaging with just for green card. They're getting married with a citizen, but they're not living together. But as we all know, like there should be a legal marriage, and they should leave,
and it should be a bona fide marriage as well.
Absolutely. Right. But people got their green card on that in that way. The fraud cases, some people got caught it with that. But later on, if they wanted to move on, what is the best option?
Well, for those that have gotten caught and immigration has made a marriage fraud finding against them, they really don't have a lot of options. So marriage fraud is pretty serious in the eyes of immigration. So they need to specifically make a finding against the applicant that they've engaged in marriage fraud. And I suggest anybody who does get a denial of their application and be accused of marriage fraud, they really need to fight that at the time the petitioner might get that denial based on marriage fraud. Because with a marriage fraud finding, someone is no longer eligible to be the beneficiary of a visa petition. So a family member can't petition for them, an employer can't petition for them, and they're really limited to they can get asylum if they qualify, they can get cancellation of removal, and they can get a U visa, but they would not be able to get any other immigrant visa.
Yeah, look, marriage fraud, it's common. Everybody knows somebody who married somebody and got a green card. There's movies about it. People joke about it. It's serious. I do not recommend it in any way, shape, or form. We won't represent anybody where we know the marriage is not real. First of all, it's a crime.
Absolutely.
And although it's rarely prosecuted, it is prosecuted more often today than before. Recent case of a Dominican woman who became a citizen, who became a state assembly person. And she committed some fraud on her bankruptcy application. And through that investigation, they discovered that her marriage to get her green card was fraudulent. Wow. And she was prosecuted for that, fraud on the naturalization application and the bankruptcy, and her whole life has fallen apart. So, and today, too, immigration is a lot more sophisticated than they were 20 years ago. They have access to public records. So, for example, if Eileen and I are doing a marriage case, and I really live in Queens and Eileen lives in New Jersey, they're likely to figure that out because I've had cases where they said to the person, "Oh, you live in Queens? You live there? You go there? Well, why do you use your credit card in Reading, Pennsylvania every day?" So they're able to do certain
Discover.
checks, credit checks, Con Edison bills, to know. On top of which, social media. They go on Facebook. I've had examiners get up from an interview, go to another room, and come on Facebook and see that the person is holding themselves out to be single. So I'm not trying to say how to do a fake case. What I'm trying to say is it just doesn't pay.
Absolutely.
It doesn't pay. If you get caught, there are just so many negative ramifications that you can't overcome. It just doesn't make sense to do.
Absolutely, and people should not follow any path of that.
Right. On the other hand, if you have a real marriage and immigration is making that marriage fraud, you need to aggressively challenge that,
definitely.
and not to just hold back.
Absolutely. Okay. Carrie, we will talk about that a little bit more because it is a serious issue, and there are many people actually still don't know and still want to do in a way to get a green card. But we'll take the caller right now. New York থেকে আনোয়ার. Hello, আনোয়ার.
হ্যাঁ, আমি আনোয়ার বলছি নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে।
জি আনোয়ার, বলুন।
আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে আমি নাম চেঞ্জ করতে চাই।
আচ্ছা, আপনি কি গ্রিন কার্ড হোল্ডার?
আমি সিটিজেন।
আপনি সিটিজেন এবং নাম চেঞ্জ করতে চান?
হ্যাঁ, নাম চেঞ্জ করতে চাই, লাস্ট নেম।
আচ্ছা,
তো এটা কি আমার কতটুকু এটা কি ইয়া হবে?
আচ্ছা, আপনার আর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন আছে নাকি?
না, এতটুকু।
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ আনোয়ার, আপনি আমাদের সাথে থাকুন, আমি আপনার কোয়েশ্চেনটি অ্যান্সার করার চেষ্টা করছি। হি ওয়ান্টস টু চেঞ্জ হিজ নেম, হি ইজ এ সিটিজেন, সো হু উড লাইক টু অ্যান্সার?
The perfect opportunity to change a name is while you're going for your citizenship. And naturalization will do it for free. If he hasn't done that, and he's already a citizen of the United States, he'd have to go into the court, and it's the district court.
The state court.
State court, and apply for a name change. And it goes by his jurisdiction. So whatever state he lives in, you said he lives in New York, it would be New York.
Yeah, it's not difficult to do. However, had he thought about it when he was getting his naturalization, they allow you at the time you're naturalizing to change your name to essentially whatever you want.
Right.
And that there's good reason for that. Sometimes people, especially with traditional Southeast Asian names and Asian names, they don't really translate well into English, so people try to get a more anglicized name. But it could be for other reasons. You want to go back to using your father's name or some name that's important to you or something like that. So you can do that when you naturalize. It costs you nothing. It's perfectly legal, and it's right there on the application. Do you want to change your name?
But for
and you can do it.
He's already a citizen.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with immigration. He would just go into state court, hire a lawyer locally to do that, and they'll do that for him.
Is it difficult now?
I don't think it's difficult now.
Okay, so he can do it from
Yes.
the court
Yeah.
right now. Okay.
But this is not an immigration issue.
Okay, so this is not an immigration issue, and he can just go to the court and file his name change. Okay, আনোয়ার, আপনার প্রশ্নটি ছিল যে আপনি আপনার নামটা চেঞ্জ করতে চান এবং আপনি অলরেডি সিটিজেন। আপনার প্রশ্নটির যে অ্যান্সারটি দিলেন ক্যারি এবং আইলিন, বললেন যে সিটিজেনশিপের সময় একটা অপশন থাকে ওখানে নাম চেঞ্জ করার সময়, ওটা তো ইমিগ্রেশনের ইস্যু থাকে। বাট এখন যেহেতু আপনি অলরেডি সিটিজেন, সেহেতু এটা ইমিগ্রেশনের কোনো ইস্যু না, আপনি জাস্ট কোর্টে গিয়ে আপনার নাম চেঞ্জের জন্য ফাইল করতে পারেন, আর আপনার কোর্ট থেকে ওখান থেকে আপনার প্রসেসটা আপনি জেনে নিতে পারেন যে আপনার নামটা চেঞ্জ করার জন্য কী কী করতে হবে। ধন্যবাদ আনোয়ার কল করার জন্য, এবং আশা করছি আপনি আপনার প্রশ্নের উত্তরটি পেয়েছেন। উই হ্যাভ অ্যানাদার কলার from New Jersey, Farida Sultana. Hello, Farida.
আমি আমার ভাইয়ের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করেছি।
জি,
বুঝলেন, এবার 2000 আইডি। তো ওরা আমার কাছে পরে চিঠি পাঠাইছে, একটু লেটার পাঠাইছে যে তোমার যে আমরা পাইছি, এবং পরবর্তীতে আরেকটা চিঠি দেয়, ওই চিঠিতে লেখে যে ওই ডেটটা উল্লেখ করছে 2007।
আচ্ছা, আপনার ভাইয়ের কি অ্যাপ্রুভাল লেটারটা পেয়েছেন নাকি আপনি রিসিভিং লেটারের কথা বলছেন?
না, রিসিভিং তো প্রথম তারিখ পাঠাইছে।
আচ্ছা,
অ্যাপ্লাই করি আমার ভাইয়ের জন্য।
আচ্ছা, আপনার প্রশ্নটি বলুন।
আমার এখন প্রশ্ন যে ওই 2007 ওরা ডেট দিচ্ছে, কিন্তু এখন পর্যন্ত আমি আর কোনো চিঠি পাইনি। এখন আমার কি করার আছে?
আপনি যেহেতু অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছেন 2004-এ এবং 2007-এ আপনি চিঠি পেয়েছেন, অ্যাপ্রুভাল লেটার নাকি কিসের চিঠি পেয়েছেন আপনি? চিঠিটা ক্লারিফাই করেন।
2007 মাসের আগেই পেয়েছি যে মানে ওরা প্রিভিলেন্স একটা কি বলে না যে এই থেকে তোমার এই যে মানে গণনা হয়েছে।
ওকে, বুঝতে পেরেছি আমি। আপনি অ্যাপ্রুভালটা পেয়েছেন 2007-এ। আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। আপনি বলতে চাচ্ছেন যে আর কতটুকু সময় লাগবে এবং কবে আপনাকে ডাকবে বা কোনো লেটার পাঠাবে, রাইট?
হ্যাঁ,
ওকে,
আমি লাইন যাচ্ছি।
ঠিক আছে ফরিদা, থ্যাংক ইউ আপনার কল করার জন্য। Okay, her question was she applied for her brother in 2004 and she got a letter for approval in 2007, so now she's waiting for the other process, but she said like how long it will take and what will be the process and why it's not here yet.
Okay, well, the fourth preference category for brothers and sisters, it takes a long time because they have more applications than they have visa numbers available. So right now they're currently at April 15th, 2002. And if her petition was filed in 2004, she's going to have to wait for that visa number to
Become current.
current.
So it's April 15th,
But the confusion that people have is they think when it gets approved, oh, I'm getting my green card.
Right.
No, all they're saying when the visa gets approved is that immigration believes that is a true brother and sister or a true husband and wife or a true parent-child.
Absolutely.
So they believe that that's true, but the date that counts, what's called the priority date, is the date that it was filed. That's the date that puts you online. So she filed in 2004. She's online now, and they're doing people from April 2002. If the numbers continue in the same way, she's probably got 2 years to go, but the numbers don't always move that fast, and sometimes they move very fast. So you have to check the visa bulletin, which comes out
On about the 15th of every month,
15th
it comes
of
out for the next month.
yeah, it's very, you just Google the Department of State visa bulletin, brother and sister is what they call fourth preference,
Right.
and you can see the category. that
Yeah,
they're in.
absolutely. You know what is funny is like I hear many times like, okay, I applied for my brother and I got it green card within 7 years, and some others says no, my brother came in with my mother. Why yours is not coming? You apply for your mother, but it's not coming. So they have a very misconception with that. Like
Well, it's hard when
how
you're getting all
this-
your information from friends and family and
Right.
on the street. But the fourth preference, sadly, is a long
it's
wait.
a longer,
It's a long wait.
longer wait, and like as you say, like approval means they think that okay, my case is done. They should call now for interview, or they should.
But I would strongly encourage anybody who's in a position to file a visa petition for a family member to do it, even though it's 13 years right now. And that is because there is a possibility that, or at least the Senate passed this bill a couple of years ago, where they were going to end the fourth preference category, but everybody who was in that category already would get their visas much faster.
Right.
So if you're saying, gee, I shouldn't file for my brother and sister until it gets to be much shorter, you're better off getting that application filed now, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Alan. Let me answer her question. ফরিদা সুলতানা, আপনার কোয়েশ্চেনটি ছিল যে আপনার ভাইয়ের জন্য আপনি অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছিলেন 2004-এ এবং আপনি অ্যাপ্রুভাল লেটারটা পেয়েছেন 2007-এ। যেহেতু এখন ভাই বোনের কেসের যে আপনার ইয়েটা চলছে প্রায়োরিটি, সেটা হচ্ছে 2002 এপ্রিল 15, 2002 চলছে। সো স্টিল আপনার হাতে এখন অনেক সময় আছে আপনার কেসটা ডান হতে। আই গেস এখনও হয়তো 4-5 বছর লাগতে পারে। যদি এটা আরও ফাস্টার হয় দেন আপনার হয়তো আরেকটু তাড়াতাড়ি আসতে পারে, বাট এটা সম্পূর্ণটা প্রায়োরিটির উপর ডিপেন্ড করছে যে আপনার প্রায়োরিটিটা কবে কারেন্ট হবে। সো যেহেতু আপনি 2004-এ করেছেন আর এখন চলছে 2000, সো আই এম সরি 2 বছরের মতো ওয়েট করতে হবে স্টিল। ফরিদা, থ্যাংক ইউ আপনার প্রশ্ন করার জন্য। দর্শক, আপনারা যারা আমাদের অ্যাটর্নির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে চান, অ্যাটর্নি আর্লিন এবং অথবা অ্যাটর্নি ক্যারির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে চান আপনাদের বিভিন্ন ইমিগ্রেশনের সমস্যা নিয়ে, আপনারা যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন। তাদের ফোন নাম্বার এবং ইনফরমেশন আমাদের স্ক্রিনে আছে, আপনারা সেখান থেকে সংগ্রহ করুন। অথবা দর্শক, আপনারা ফোন করতে পারেন 267-2555 এই নাম্বারে। থ্যাংক ইউ দর্শক, আশা করছি আপনারা আশা করছি আপনাদের যে কোনো সমস্যা নিয়ে আপনারা যদি প্রবলেম ফেস করেন আপনারা অ্যাটর্নি কেরি এবং অ্যাটর্নি আইল্যান্ডের সাথে সরাসরি যোগাযোগ করতে পারেন, তাদের স্কাইপের মাধ্যমেও আপনারা কনসাল্ট করতে পারেন অন্যান্য স্টেট থেকে। থ্যাংক ইউ দর্শক। ওকে, উই হ্যাভ এ কলার ফ্রম পেনসিলভেনিয়া, হোসেন। হ্যালো।
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। জি, আপনার প্রশ্ন বলুন।
হ্যাঁ, আমার প্রশ্ন হলো এখানে আমার আব্বা আম্মা আসছিল 2007-এ। হ্যাঁ,
জি।
আসার পরে এখানে প্রায় 3 বছর ছিল। থাকার পরে ওনারা গেছে, দেশে গেছে, যাওয়ার পর আবার ব্যাক করছে।
ওকে,
ঠিক আছে। ব্যাক করার পরে ওনারা এখানে থাকার পরে ওনারা আবার যাবে, দেশে যাবে। হ্যাঁ, 2010-এ। তারপর আমি ওই যে
হোসেন, ওনারা কতদিন
2 ইয়ার্স
ওনারা কতদিন দেশে ছিলেন?
ওরা 2010-এ আমি ওদের জন্য 2 বছরের অনুমতি নিয়ে নেওয়া হয়েছে ওনাদের জন্য। তো ওনারা 2 বছরের অনুমতি পেয়ে ওনারা ব্যাক করছে ওখানে বাংলাদেশে, আর আসে নাই। হ্যাঁ, এখন আমি যদি ট্রাই করি ওনাদের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করতে পারবো, আবার রিঅ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারবো? হ্যাঁ, এটা হলো আমার একটা প্রশ্ন। আর একটা প্রশ্ন হলো আমার ভাই বোনদের জন্য আমি অ্যাপ্লাই করছি 2006-এ, আমি কেসটা অ্যাপ্রুভ হয়েছে 2010-এ। হ্যাঁ, এখন এখানে আর কত বছর লাগতে পারে ওনাদের ব্যাপারে?
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ হোসেন, আমি আপনার প্রশ্নটি পেয়েছি। আপনার আর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন আছে?
আমি একটা প্রশ্ন, কোন প্রায়োরিটি পেলে কেসটা আরো দ্রুত হবে, প্রসেসটা একটু আর্লি হবে?
আপনার ভাই বোনের জন্য?
হ্যাঁ, ভাই বোনের জন্য।
আচ্ছা, আপনি সিটিজেন, রাইট?
আমি সিটিজেন, আমার ওয়াইফ সিটিজেন।
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ হোসেন, আমি আপনার প্রশ্নটি পেয়েছি। আশা করছি আপনার প্রশ্নটির উত্তর আমরা শীঘ্রই দিতে পারবো। ধন্যবাদ আপনার কল করার জন্য। Arlene and Carrie, Hossein asking 2 questions. His first question is like he applied for his parents in 2007. They live here 3 years, and then in 2010 he got permission to go back to Bangladesh for 2 years, but they went and they never came back. So now he wants to bring them back, and how he will do it. And also another question he applied for his brothers and sister in 2006, and 2010 he got approval. So now, is there any way to, it's a common question they have, is there any way to do faster? Is there any option for faster process?
Okay, well, I'll take the first question first. His parents have now basically abandoned their status. They left in 2010. They had permission to stay out for a maximum of 2 years, and they haven't come back, and we're in 2015.
Right.
So while they might physically have a green card or an alien registration card, it would be presumed that they've already abandoned their status. So the best thing, they could try and make an entry and come back, but they'd have to be completely upfront at the airport. If they're asked questions, they have to be truthful about it. But the more prudent thing would be for the son to petition for them all over again and bring them back, consular process. But as Carrie's going to ask, what is the intention of the parents? Are they coming for a visit, or do they want to live here?
Absolutely,
and that's going to depend on what our answer is.
Right. We must be working together about 20 years, or maybe 25. You know my lines already. This is a common scenario, especially with parents who sometimes they really don't want to live here. They like their life back home. They want to visit their kids and their grandkids, but they like their life back home. So, what do the parents want to do? Are they looking to come here to visit, stay 3 or 4 months, go back home, come again next year? Well, then that's fine. They can do that. Go to the consulate and ask for a tourist visa. No problem. They've already demonstrated that they really don't want to live here, and that's the first thing you need to do when you get a tourist visa, is show that you're not an immigrant. But if they do want to live here, the son can petition for them. So I would have them answer that question first, decide what they want to do, and if they really just want to visit, come for a few months, probably the warmer months, hopefully, and visit their kids and their grandkids, let them apply for a tourist visa. It's quick, it's cheap. If it's denied, the son can always petition for them. That's an immediate relative. It's about a year, tops, 10 months to a year, 14 months for a USC child petitioning for a parent. It's relatively
Yeah, I
quick.
mean, and the interesting thing is if they have a green card and they went to the consulate and they turned it in and they said, you know, we don't want this, we just want a tourist visa, they probably get a tourist visa. And then they get
All
to
the
come,
time.
as he said, and when they're here, and it's a 6-month process while they're in the U.S.
Right.
If they decide after they've come that that's what their intention is.
Yeah, my recommendation would be let's decide what they want to do. So the second question is the one that we answer every week 2 or 3 times, and this is the 4th preference brother and sister petition that was filed in 2006.
Right. Well, we can't speed it up. I mean, they're at 2002. It's several more years at best. They can try to come on an E2 visa, potentially. They have to show that they're going to invest money in the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many siblings there are, but remember, when you come on an E2 visa, if you are approved, your spouse comes and your children come. And they get to come on an E visa. The E2 visa is usually valid, minimum of 2 years. After the business has been running for a couple of years, they can give you a 5-year visa. Okay. So while they're here waiting for the sibling petition to become current, they're living in the U.S. The spouse of the E applicant is going to get work authorization, and the E applicant has to work in the business.
I love the E visa, and I also always think it's important to mention, especially on Cine Bangla TV, that people from Bangladesh and Pakistan are eligible, but people from India are not. But not to confuse this with the $1 million investor visa, right? What's the difference between these 2 visas?
Well, so the investor visa that you have to put in $1 million, that's under the EB category, and it's an EB-5. It will turn into a green card if you're successful. But the E2 visa is a treaty trader investor visa, and it's a non-immigrant visa, and it's renewable indefinitely. Really, it depends on how long the business is going to be.
Is there a minimum investment requirement?
No, there's no minimum per se, but immigration will look at what type of investment you're making and what the norm is for that type of investment. So if the norm would be $80,000, they're going to expect you're going to put a minimum of $80,000, and if the norm is $200,000.
So if I want to open up, let's say, a Subway, I want to get a franchise for Subway, or I want to get a franchise for, let's say, for example, Dunkin' Donuts, would this qualify?
Absolutely.
And
the only requirements are that you're going to put your own money at risk and invest in the U.S. to build up the U.S. economy, and that you're going to have a few employees. And there's no even set number of employees.
So let me ask you a question. I'm like this gentleman who just called. I'm a USC. My brother is back home in Bangladesh. I have the money. I've been successful in the U.S. Can I loan the money or give the money to my brother in Bangladesh to be able to open up a business here? I don't know what a franchise like Subway costs. It's probably about $100K or something.
Well, that's an interesting question. So
I'm not trying to trick you.
No, not at all. No, but it's a good question. So the source of funds is one of the things that immigration is very concerned about, you know? So they want to make sure that you're putting your money at risk. A loan may not qualify because you'd have to be able to show that you can pay back that loan outside the business entity you're about to set up.
Right.
So you could be gifted the money, and you can inherit it, or it can be given to you. So if a U.S. citizen gifts the money, the U.S. citizen has to be careful because there are gift tax in the U.S.
Okay.
While immigration isn't asking about that, you know, it may be an issue with the IRS.
So let me make it more complicated. Let's say I want to go in partnership with my brother, but my brother is in Bangladesh and he needs that E2 to come here.
Well, the foreign national has to own at least 50% of the enterprise for them to be eligible for an E2.
So you have to figure out, sometimes we bring in a business lawyer to kind of construct the way that corporation or that business would be set up in order to satisfy the e-visa requirements and keep everything legal.
Correct. Keep them eligible.
Right.
I
had the same question, actually, that if someone wants to apply for E2 visa from Bangladesh, like what they have to show from there, like, okay, they're not here, they don't know about the business environment here. They want to come here with the E2 visa and they want to invest here, but how they will show or how they will go and how they will
that too is a very good question because for an E2 visa, you have to show that you started the process, that you've already made the investment.
Here.
Yeah, so you may never have been here, but you set up a business, had a business set up, and then you started to fund that business.
But how? How they will do it?
Well, you know, depends on the type of business that they set up. But how do they set up a business? Well, you can hire a lawyer to set up the type of corporation, incorporated, limited, however the structure is going to be, that can be done by a lawyer. But then after it's set up, then they need to get their tax ID, and then they need to start opening up bank accounts. They usually need a representative. Most people that are in a foreign country can't just do everything on their own.
Okay.
Right, you can't do everything online, but
So,
you can get a representative to rent a storefront where you plan on putting, let's say, your Subway sandwich shop, and you can make a contract and have your initial business done with the franchise company and have that in play, and you can do lots of things without physically being here.
okay.
And it's probably
Got
a
it.
lot easier, and I don't know this for sure, but through a franchise. Franchise is going to help walk you through it. You just show them the money and they'll make it happen.
Yeah, it's a turnkey.
If you're going to go and start your own business and have a direct investment in something small, local, mom and pop shop, that's a little harder. You really need to be here, or you need to have somebody you trust that will help set it up.
But I just want to get it out. I'm sorry, Shamina, go ahead.
Sure. The question was like, if someone wants to invest here, like I'm here, I want to invest money, but the 50% of the, as you say, the 50% has to be, but 50% ownership, I give it to my brother, or he wants to own it, like the business, and he needs a E2 visa, so he can come with that, right? I can start a business, the 50%, and then he can, and then he can apply for the E2 visa and come with his family.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's right.
Yeah.
And just to mention this, because we have so many Bangladesh clients, you know, they happen to have a good business acumen for jewelry businesses, and I noticed that you wear some nice jewelry.
Right.
That would qualify. If you're going to open, if you know the jewelry business, and you're, let's say, on your valid B2 tourist visa, and you say, hey, you know what, I've been in the jewelry business in Bangladesh for years, this would be a great spot to have a jewelry business, you could probably do an E2 visa by setting up that business here.
Okay, so that's a good actually suggestion, and I think that will help many people. And also, there is one more question on that E2 visa, that someone is here with illegal, like no legal status at this time, but want to apply for E2 visa or invest here. Is they have any option or any way to do it?
Well,
or they can go with partnership with anybody?
Correct. There are a lot of people here without proper status that own businesses. So owning the business is not the issue, but you cannot convert your status to that of a non-immigrant. So you have to be in valid status to convert to a non-immigrant status. So if you came here and you overstayed and you've been here for many years and now you want to try and fix it, you're not going to fix it by doing a change of status to a non-immigrant visa.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. And if you were to go home to the consulate for an interview, they're going to say you're subject to a 3 or a 10-year bar, and then you're stuck outside the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you really need an immigration bill on that level.
I want to make the E-visa a little bit more complicated since we're having such a great chat on the E tonight.
I'm enjoying this,
Okay,
yes.
so what is the difference between an E-visa and an L1? Let me give you the example. I don't really want to give my brother $100,000, but I want him here, and I happen to have a jewelry business here. And he knows the jewelry business because he happens to have one back home in Dhaka. Can I get him here on an L1? How would that work?
Yes, you could bring him here on an L1 if his company invests in his brother's company in the U.S. So
what
the
is an
companies
L1?
have to be, in order for someone to get an L1 visa, which is an executive, intercompany transferee of an executive or a manager, you have to be working in the foreign country for at least 1 to 3 years in the company abroad, and then be transferred to a sister company, an affiliate, a company that's related to that company that's here in the U.S. So if they don't have any relation other than their brothers and they each own it, that's not going to work. But if the company either company then goes ahead and purchases the other or purchases a percentage of the other, you may have the ability to bring them over. And L1A is a lot harder to get because immigration is going to scrutinize it more than an E2 visa.
Okay.
So an L1A has restrictions. One is maximum time in the U.S. is 7 years. No more. You have to leave for at least 1 year before you can try and come back on a new L1A. Okay. Now, when you come over, when you apply for it, immigration is going to look to make sure that you meet the requirements of an executive or a manager. So you have to have worked for the company at least one of the last 3 years. You have to show that you've been in a managerial or an executive position where you've had subordinates who are also professionals, who also manage.
Okay.
And in those cases, immigration will look at it and say, oh, wait a second, you manage one guy who's a professional who has a bachelor's degree and that person has one administrative person underneath it. That's not enough.
Okay.
So they're they can
They look at these
be
cases.
very
They have
critical.
to be real.
So the L1 is much more critical than e-visa. And,
Well, the requirements are harder to meet.
But
now,
do you think that L1 gets a green card sooner if you meet the requirements,
Well,
or the E?
you know what? The L1 doesn't exactly lead to a green card, but you can be petitioned.
Oh, okay.
But it gets tricky because if you own too much of the company, you can't really self-petition for an EB.
Look,
but wait, there's one more thing. So it would be an EB1 you'd be going for. So somebody who's an executive or a manager who's being petitioned can get an EB1 visa, which even in India, even for India and Bangladesh and all the Southeast Asian countries, all countries are current right now. There's no wait for an EB1. But an E2 visa holder, if they grow their company large enough that they are an executive or a manager,
Right.
so let's say that they don't have one subway, now they have 5, and they're running all 5 of them, and each subway has several people in it. Then maybe that E2 visa holder who's on a non-immigrant visa can now apply for an EB1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one thing that maybe we should clarify. The E visa, the L visa, these are not green card visas. They're something like the H visa in that they're a non-immigrant, meaning you're going to come here, you're going to be allowed to work, but while you're here working, then we also have to figure out how to do the green card. So as Eileen was saying, just to go back to the original example where the gentleman petitioned for his brother in 2006, all right, he's got a long way to go. When is that going to be current?
Maybe 4 or 5 years.
it's
2019.
2002.
So the brother comes here on the E2. He runs his small business while that other petition is pending to eventually get a green card. The last thing I wanted to say about that case is, if the parents want to immigrate here, why wouldn't, after they're here, they also file a petition for the son, the brother that's abroad? They could do that as well.
Yeah,
and the timing is probably about the
local
same.
permanent resident parent petitioning for a child over an unmarried child. So the brothers would have to be unmarried, which is different for the F4. But they're covering 2008, so it's still a 6 to 7 year wait.
It's still going to be pretty close to time frame.
But we don't have the information, all information, like the brothers are married or unmarried or over 21 or under 21. So
What's interesting
know
about
that.
this one thing is that this one caller with one simple question provoked so much information. The point being that whether it's us or wherever you go, for immigration, you should really look to get qualified advice from a lawyer who's accredited with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, who's got some credentials, because this stuff can be complicated.
I agree with you, Carrie.
That's the tip for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I will take that as a tip, though I was about to say that. Let me answer his question, and then we will take a last caller from Connecticut, Shumon. So, Hossein, আপনার কোয়েশ্চেনটি ছিল, দুটো কোয়েশ্চেন ছিল। সেটা হচ্ছে 2007-এ আপনি আপনার প্যারেন্টসের জন্য অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছিলেন, যেটা 2010-এ তারা গিয়ে আর ফিরে আসেনি। হোসেন, তাদের জন্য আপনি অবশ্যই আবার অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারেন তাদের গ্রিন কার্ডের জন্য, অথবা আপনি তাদের গ্রিন কার্ড যদি ভ্যালিড থাকে, আপনি তাদেরকে নিয়ে এসে ইমিগ্রেশনে যখন তাদেরকে অ্যাস্ক করা হবে, যেটা আইলিন সাজেস্ট করলেন, যে আপনারা তখন তাদেরকে সত্য কথা বলবেন, এবং তারা যদি গ্রিন কার্ড ওখানে নিয়ে নিতে চায়, আপনারা তাদেরকে হ্যান্ড ওভার করতে হবে, এবং পরবর্তীতে আপনি এখানে তাদের জন্য আবার অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারেন। বাট ক্যারি যেটা আপনাকে সাজেস্ট করলেন, দর্শক আপনাদের সবার উদ্দেশ্যেই আমি বলছি, ক্যারি এবং আইলিন অলওয়েজ আপনাদের উদ্দেশ্যে এটা বলে থাকেন যে যদি প্যারেন্টস যদি এখানে থাকতে না চায়, বাবা মা যদি এখানে থাকতে না চায়, আপনারা তাদের জন্য গ্রিন কার্ডের অ্যাপ্লিকেশন না করে তারা যদি গ্রিন কার্ড নিয়ে এখানে যদি না থাকতে চায়, দেন আপনারা ভিজিটর ভিসার জন্য অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারেন। এটা আরও বেশি সহজ হবে আপনাদের জন্য। ধন্যবাদ হোসেন আপনার কল করার জন্য। এবং আপনার যে দ্বিতীয় কোয়েশ্চেনটি ছিল যে ভাই বোনের কেসটি ফাস্টার কোনো অপশন আছে কিনা, যেটার পরবর্তী অনেক কিছুই আমরা কথা বললাম যে আপনার ভাই বোনের যে এখন প্রসেসিংটা চলছে এটা 2002 এর এপ্রিল 15, 2002 এর কেস চলছে এখন যে প্রায়োরিটি হিসাবে। সো আপনার স্টিল অনেক অপেক্ষা করতে হবে। বাট মিনওয়াইল আপনি E2 ভিসা, যেটা বিজনেস ভিসার জন্য, যে তারা এখানে এসে বিজনেস করতে পারে, আপনি কিছু ইনভেস্টর ভিসা বলে, আপনি এখানে ইনভেস্ট করার জন্য তারা এখানে আসতে পারে E2 ভিসা নিয়ে, এবং আপনি সেটার জন্য অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে পারেন। তারা এখানে E2 ভিসা নিয়ে থাকতে পারে বিজনেসের থ্রুতে। পরবর্তীতে তারা আপনার যে কেসটি প্রসেসিং চলছে ওটা যখন কারেন্ট হবে তারা এখান থেকে ওটা অ্যাডজাস্ট করতে পারবে। ধন্যবাদ হোসেন, আশা করছি আপনি আপনার উত্তরটি পেয়েছেন, এবং আপনার যদি আর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন থাকে আপনি আমাদেরকে ফোন করতে পারেন। ধন্যবাদ। আমাদের কাছে আরেকজন কলার আছে কানেক্টিকার থেকে, সুমন। হ্যালো সুমন।
হ্যালো, আমার কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে আমার বোন তার হাজবেন্ডের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করছে 2011 সালে, কিন্তু তারপর ডিনাই করছিল। বিয়েটা হয়েছে ফোনে, আমরা জানাই নেই, কিন্তু এখন আমরা কি করতে পারি? তার একটা বেবি হয়েছে, এটা বৈধ বিয়ে, এবং সে তার হাজবেন্ডের কাছে 2 বার গিয়েছিল। এখন আমরা কি করতে পারি? এখন আপিল বিভাগে আছে কেস।
আচ্ছা, 2011 এ বিয়ে হয়েছে।
একটা কোশ্চেন আপনার, আমি সিটিজেন হয়নি এখনো, 5 বছর হয়ে গেছে, কিন্তু আমি বিয়ে করে আসছি 2-3 মাস আগে। কিন্তু এখন কি অ্যাপ্লাই করলে ভালো হবে, না সিটিজেন হওয়ার পরে করব আমার ওয়াইফের জন্য?
ধন্যবাদ সুমন, আমি আপনার কোয়েশ্চেনটি পেয়েছি, আমি অ্যান্সার করার চেষ্টা করছি, আপনি আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন। ধন্যবাদ। Eileen and Carrie, we don't have much time, so you can, if you can answer briefly. He have 2 questions. He applied for his sister in 2011. Sorry, his sister applied for his husband actually. 2011 they got married in phone marriage, but afterward she went twice. And how she will bring her husband now. She have a baby. And the second question is he is not citizen, but he wants to apply for his wife. He got married, and will he do it now or after citizenship? So this is 2 questions.
I'm not sure I understood the first one correctly, but the first one, it sounds like they got married on the phone and then she went there.
She went there, yeah, later.
So it really, if it's a valid marriage in Bangladesh, then immigration should recognize it. Okay. And so if the petition was already filed for them, again, it's just the course of, if she's a U.S. citizen, she's petitioning for her spouse, it takes about a year, give or take, as Carrie would say, 14 months, don't be mad at me, 10 months, great. Right. But it would just be a normal visa petition and consular processing package, even though she has a child. That doesn't speed up the process.
Yeah, look, marriages by phone, by video, by Facebook, none of those are going to be recognized by immigration, in addition to the fact that you have to consummate the marriage, so that there has to be some physical presence.
Right.
She went to visit him,
twice.
So I don't know if they needed
I don't know what they did
ceremony.
after they visited.
It has to be recognized.
What about a religious ceremony that's not registered civilly? They go to a mosque.
So,
a religious ceremony, even if it's recognized in your country, it's not recognized by immigration. It has to be a civilly registered wedding, a marriage.
How about the second question?
The second question was, could you remind me?
He is not citizen.
He should not. He should definitely file as a resident immediately. Because we don't know how long it's going to take for him to be a citizen, and at least to get it started. Right now, they're handling cases from a year and a half ago. So if he files it and puts it and gets it started, it takes a year for a U.S. citizen. It might only take a year and a few months, a year and a half, a year and 2 months.
Resident spouse petitions are at their fastest right now, about a year and a half.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Carrie, for your time. সুমন, আপনার যে প্রশ্নটি ছিল, আপনার দুটি প্রশ্ন ছিল। একটি প্রশ্ন ছিল যে আপনি 2011 আপনার আপনার বোন অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছে তার হাজবেন্ডের জন্য, অ্যাজ ফার অ্যাজ আমি বুঝতে পেরেছি যেটা, এবং এটা ফোন ম্যারেজ ছিল, পরবর্তীতে সে 2বার গিয়েছে। সো যেটা আইলিন বললেন যে এটাতে কোনো সমস্যা নেই, আপনার বোন তাদের ম্যারেজটা যদি লিগ্যাল হয়ে থাকে এবং যেটা বলে যে বোনাফাইড ম্যারেজ, বাংলাদেশে যেটা বলে রেজিস্ট্রি ম্যারেজ, যদি হয়ে থাকে দেন এটাতে কোনো সমস্যা নেই, সে অ্যাপ্লাই করতে পারে তার হাজবেন্ডের জন্য এবং এটা ইমিগ্রেশনে ফাইল করতে পারে যে রেজিস্ট্রিটার যে ডেট আছে সেই হিসাবে। আর সেকেন্ড কোয়েশ্চেনটি ছিল যে আপনি সিটিজেন না কিন্তু আপনার ওয়াইফের জন্য অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করতে চান। সুমন, আপনার ওয়াইফ, আপনি যেহেতু গ্রিন কার্ড হোল্ডার এবং গ্রিন কার্ড হোল্ডারদের প্রসেসটা এখন মাচ মোর ফাস্টার, এখন আরও তাড়াতাড়ি হচ্ছে সিটিজেনদের চেয়ে। সো আপনি অপেক্ষা না করে আপনি অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা ফাইল করে দিতে পারেন। ধন্যবাদ সুমন আপনার প্রশ্নের জন্য। অ্যান্ড দর্শক, আজকে আমরা যাদের ফোন নিতে পারিনি আমরা অত্যন্ত দুঃখিত। আজকের যে টিপটি ছিল আমাদের অ্যাটর্নিদের কাছ থেকে সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনারা কখনোই ইমিগ্রেশনের কোনো ব্যাপারে আপনারা নিজেরা ডিসিশন নিতে যাবেন না, এটা আপনাদের জন্য অনেক সময় ক্ষতিকর হয়ে দাঁড়ায়। সো দর্শক, আপনারা অবশ্যই একজন ভালো এবং একজন এক্সপেরিয়েন্স অ্যাটর্নির সাথে আপনারা কনসাল্ট করুন, আপনারা কথা বলুন, আপনাদের সমস্যাটা জানান এবং তারপরে আপনারা যে কোনো ইমিগ্রেশনের ব্যাপারে ডিসিশন নিন। এটা আপনাদের সবার জন্যই একটা big suggestion যেটা আছে ক্যারি আমাদের জন্য দিলেন। and thank you Carrie for your tip today.
Great,
and thank you Eileen for your time today here.
Thank you. We appreciate
we are really happy to have you here. দর্শক, আজ আমরা এখানেই শেষ করব। আশা করছি আমরা আপনাদের যথাযথ হেল্প করতে পারি এই অনুষ্ঠানের মাধ্যমে ইমিগ্রেশনের যে কোনো ব্যাপারে। আপনারা যদি আমাদের অ্যাটর্নির সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে চান, তাদের ইনফরমেশন আমাদের স্ক্রিনে আছে, আপনারা সেখান থেকে সংগ্রহ করতে পারেন। আপনারা ফোন করতে চাইলে আপনারা ফোন করতে পারেন, তাদের নাম্বার হচ্ছে 212-267-2555। এই নাম্বারে তাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করুন, তাদের সাথে স্কাইপে আপনারা কনসাল্ট করতে পারেন বিভিন্ন স্টেট থেকে। দর্শক, আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন, সুন্দর থাকুন। আশা করছি আপনাদের সাথে আবারও দেখা হবে আগামী সপ্তাহে। খোদা হাফেজ।